Hello, so I am Ben and this is Emily from MySingPop. I have been this morning doing some training around kind of health and safety and some practical elements to do with events and that sort of stuff with the MySingPop team today. And so I've been working with the MySingPop team for a number of years, doing some of the events in the schools with the kids. And I would love to encourage you, if you are looking for resources for your kids in your church, go and check out the MySingPop channel with Emily. She's got loads of great YouTube videos that you can go and have a look at. But that's it from us. Have a look at this training and hopefully you'll find it helpful for you in your churches. So we're going to do some health and safety stuff. So health and safety, obviously not the most glamorous of subjects, but it is a very important one. And there are three particular areas that I just wanted to run through with you. And the first of all is working at height. Now, does anybody know what height you need to be at before you're classed as working at height? Let's have some guesses. 5 meters, a foot, a meter. Any advances?
The average height of a chair is.
The average height of a chair, 2 meters. Sorry, go on.
Couple of steps.
Yeah.
Couple of steps.
I thought it was just like a step.
It is just a step. Yeah, absolutely. So the definition of working at height is any height from which you can fall and injure yourself. So you could go up 1 step and fall off and twist your ankle. So you are working at height. So it means that all of us work at height pretty much all of the time because we're on a stage or a platform or a plinth or a dais or whatever you want to call it. A bench, yeah, absolutely. So we work at height quite often. And so it's worth just being aware of that. Okay, so a lot of what we do is considered working at height. The other common issue that we're going to face with health and safety is going to be slips and trips. Slips, trips and falls are the biggest health and safety issue, just full stop across wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Slips, trips and falls are the biggest thing for health and safety. And so for us, one of the big causes of that is going to be tripping over cables. So again, just thinking about where we're going to put our cables, how we're going to secure them. We do tend to carry, we have a lot of these mats that we use to cover cables with, which work really well. So we can just make sure we've got those over any cables that are going through walkways and things. And as I've said, when we come to coiling our cables, just making sure that if we use that over-under technique, that the cables will actually lie flat. If we've got a cable that's all twisted and coiled, when we pull them out, they don't lie down flat. Making sure that the space is clear of people whilst we're building. So try to make sure the space is clear, or at least we've got sort of sections cordoned off so we can run cables in sections of the building without people going into them. Try wherever possible to avoid doorways and all that sort of stuff. And if we can't avoid them, then make sure they're taped or covered, which I'm sure we do most of the time anyway. Things like tripod legs. So when we're setting up tripods for TVs and speakers and things like that, we can, quite often the tripods will have brightly coloured taped legs. So we can make sure that if there is a leg of the tripod that's going to be sticking out into the room, it's got markings on it so that we can see that's clearly identified. But think about how we position the tripod as well, because so you will be able to get the tripod closer to the wall if it's in this orientation. So the 2 legs spread out, it brings it closer to the wall, but it does mean that you've got a leg sticking out into the pathway. If you turn the tripod that way round, so we've got 1 leg against the wall, you then don't have a leg sticking out into the room, but it does mean that equipment is now further away from the wall. So there are pros and cons to that, and just think about that. If it works in the space to put the 1 leg against the wall and then have the other 2 legs out that way, that eliminates that issue. But don't just also think about the legs, also think about the thing that's on top of it. Yeah, because the TV might stick out further than the legs do, so also just think about what's the furthest point out that you can come. Yeah.
Is there a ratio? Because obviously you can make the base wider or narrower,
Yep.
depending on the space you have, but also I'm assuming it depends on the width or the size or the weight of whatever it is it's holding.
Yep.
Is there a rule for how wide the base should be to how big the thing it is that it's holding?
Yeah, so quite often the actual recommendation is that you make sure this part of the stand is horizontal. So you open it up until that is horizontal, and that is how the tripod should be set up. So that is that is how to correctly set up a tripod. So yeah, really good question. So yeah, this bar should be horizontal, and this now is fully set up to how it should be. Because the manufacturers will specify a weight, how much weight can go on the tripod. And when we design the systems, we will make sure we supply tripods that are suitable for the weight that you're putting on them. So you don't need to worry about that. But in order for it to be able to take the capacity of the thing that's going on it, it does need to be set up correctly. So yeah, you do need to try and make sure that those are horizontal when you put them up. Okay? Wonderful. So the final big hazard is electrical. So we have two types of cables that you will quite often come across for the events. So one is this kind of normal plug, you might call it. So this is the technical term for this is a 13 amp plug. And we have these types of plugs, these big chunky fat ones, and that's a 16 amp plug. 13 amp plugs are absolutely fine to use, there's nothing wrong with those, but there's a couple of things just to be aware of. So the whole thing of don't plug an extension lead into an extension lead, I'm sure we've all heard about that, so don't try and connect one of those into another one of those. That's not a great way to do electrical stuff. So if we need to extend cables, that's kind of why we have the 16 amp stuff, because the 16 amp is far more flexible for us to be able to extend, to be able to connect bits into, to do all that sort of stuff. So if we need to make a longer extension lead, that's where the 16 amp stuff really comes in. And so we can use this to make cables. You can't make them as long as you want, but you can make them significantly longer with that than we can with the 13. So the 16 amp stuff, if you need a long cable, go with 16. Don't plug 13 amp into 13 amp. The place that 13 amp really works well is if we have a TV where we can put it up and there's a plug socket just here, and we just need to run a cable up to our TV. 13 amps, absolutely fine, no problem at all with that. The rest of the time, try to stick to 16 as much as you possibly can, particularly if there's anything vaguely complicated. And again, as we've said before, if in doubt, ask. If you're not sure, get somebody else to do it for you. Don't try and just guess and make it up. The other thing with electrical stuff is, so we do a pat test, or we do pat testing or some other form of testing on electrical equipment just to make sure it's all safe. But a pat test only tells you, it's a bit like an MOT, it only tells you that this piece of equipment was safe at the time it was tested. Okay, what a pat test doesn't tell you is that this was tested 6 months ago, but since then it's been slammed in a drawer, and now the cable's all bent and broken and there's bits of copper sticking out of it. That cable is no longer safe to use. It might have passed a pat test, but it is no longer safe. And so anytime we're plugging anything in, always look at what you're plugging in. Don't assume that it's going to be safe. Look at it, say, does it look like a safe cable? Has it got massive kinks in it, or does the plug look all black and burnt or anything like that? If there's anything with it that you think, oh, that doesn't quite look right to me, just be aware of that when you're plugging everything in. And that just applies to everything, whether it's extension leads, a TV, a speaker, or whatever. If there's anything about it that looks like it's been damaged or doesn't look like it should be, first of all, question it. Just ask whoever's doing the tech for that. Just say, is this safe? Is this okay? And secondly, you can actually mark it and isolate it, so we can actually take it out of use. What I would do is probably find some kind of tape and wrap some tape around the plug or around the socket or something, so it's like really obvious this should not be used, don't plug this in, there's something wrong with it, and stick it back in the box and we can deal with that later on. But just be aware as you're plugging things in, just check, does it look safe, does it look okay, does it look good to use?